The RangerDin is the inspector gadget of paladins, and it's in a surprisingly good spot for the rock, paper, scissors meta in D2R. But does this underdog build have what it takes to bring the paladin back to the top of the ranks? Hope you brought some popcorn and Parmesan cheese, because it's time for some fuckery. Goddamn, boys. My chains are on point today. The RangerDin uses a toolbox of attacks, guided arrow, charge, smite, and zeal, all to orchestrate such a symphony of physical violence that I'm surprised it's even legal. There's been a lot of changes to this build since its original days in LOD, not just with the build itself, but also the meta. Unless you're in the top 1% of players, your hopes and dreams of dominating the Bloodmoor with a paladin are a bit dashed. Necros do unreasonable damage with bone skills now, so the two builds that have any hope of holding a candle to one have risen to the top, the Druid and the Assassin. This, combined with the classic dominance of those two classes over most other builds, have created a rock, paper, scissors feel to PvP, leaving the Zon, Sorceress, Barbarian, and Paladin at the bottom of the tier list. If the classes at the bottom of the ranks have any hope of achieving greatness, it's gonna take a lot of creativity, and that's where the Rangers gonna be. Our RangerDin attempts to solve the Necro and Assassin matchups with Widowmaker, a unique bow that gives him access to guided arrow. When we fill our inventory with max AR life charms, it really jacks up the damage of this bow. But this also combines very well with High Lords in a lot of ways. Between that, the Deadly Strike on Widow, and on Gores, we have almost a 90% Deadly Strike at level 99. This means the damage that you see on the character screen practically always doubles. And now we approaching that Boazon damage with this guy. Necros and Sins don't like tasting their own medicine, so if you do it right, this strategy will actually force both of those builds to come in and push the pressure, much like how they would duel against an Amazon. And that is where we can hope to finish. The Ranger also does nasty charge and smite damage with Grief, so if you can catch your opponent coming in, you can make them pay big time. Additionally, you can abuse the long-range AI of Shadowmaster, which tends to target an opponent from far off screen, and you can do this by up-zealing. This is where you just hold shift and click and hold zeal. Because one piece of life tap is allowed in most rule sets in PvP, we take full advantage of that and use Dracul's Grasp. There's a good chance you'll leech life back from this or proc life tap, which will make the assassin immediately want to quit the duel. Which is really a shame, right? Like, it's so fun dueling assassins. It's a shame that a build kind of gives it right back to him, you know? It sucks. Upsealing is also good versus Druids, who tend to stomp their Paladin opponents and hit them with nados. Life Leech from items like String of Ears and Drax will not only make them question whether or not they want to come at you with an entire zoo of friends, but even if they want to stomp at all. Upsealing here could proc Life Tap and bring you right back into what was otherwise a miserable or unwinnable situation. There's two things we don't want to do: be frozen and take a lot of physical damage. In light of that, we put a Cham and a Bear rune in our Crown of Ages. The helm is quite a variable spot. Against assassins, we use an Everlasting Helm because for some stupid reason, the people who designed the skill Mind Blast thought it was a good idea that that skill also does damage, which can really add up over the course of a very long duel. I really love Sins. They're such a great character and very well balanced. Not only is it good to have damage reduction, but also replenish life on the build. We like to duel against some of the top builds that tend to lates around the Bloodmoor. So if they're gonna do that, we're certainly gonna replenish some life. Keeping that in mind, it's good to have that stat on your rings as well. Whereas we're doing a lot of physical damage, it's important for these rings to not only have faster casts to help us hit breakpoints, but also to have damage, attack rating, replenish life, and resistances. We need our cube in the inventory to cast battle orders, but one of the best set of changes to D2R is the quick cube key that was recently added. From there's another little trick that we can use, which is shift clicking your CTA. This will immediately swap it with your main weapon and quickly allow you to recast battle orders mid-duel. Honestly, one of the best changes they brought to PvP, to be completely honest, and I don't think it was implemented for PvP. While the RangerDin does struggle against barbarians and other mainstream Paladin builds, it has a reasonable chance at beating all the other classes depending on each player's skill level. It's basically built at its core like what used to be known as a VC, or a charge smiter. So when we look at the combat skills, we can see Smite and Holy Shield maximized. We also put that 1 point into Zeal for the Druids and the Shadow Masters. We also max Charge, and then our main aura is Fanaticism, so we max that. We put the rest of our points into Vigor because not only do we use it for movement sometimes, but it's also a synergy for Charge. It's also possible to allocate these skills a bit differently if you prefer Zeal, and turn this into sort of a Telly Zealot at close range when you catch your opponent. I've included both setups for this in the D2R planner links below. I know what you're thinking. There's no way this does better than a VT or a RangerDin. It doesn't have some of the strengths that those other two Paladin builds have. But you have to remember, PvP in its current state in D2R is a rock, paper, scissors game. And we just don't see those builds at the top of the ranks. We run into Druids, Necros, and Assassins. And historically, those builds have been a nightmare for both the VT and the RangerDin. Regardless of whether or not your favorite PvP player does very well on those builds and rips up most Assassins, Druids, or Necros, fact remains that the Paladin does not have class advantage against any one of those. I recently had a title shot against a PvP champion, Elite, on this build. It was a close duel, but unfortunately I didn't have what it takes to take down the top dueler. But at least I had the best hype man in the world. In this corner, we have the challenger, Coooley, who's looking to go into Super Giga Chad 1 billion mode as he looks to take the crown, take the title, the DFC gold. Does Coooley have what it takes to finally win a belt in his own fucking tournament? Stay tuned and find out. But every time I'd gone up against Elite in the past, he'd absolutely steamrolled me, throwing caution to the wind and very quickly saying, "Good duel." God damn, dude, he's so good. There's a reason this guy's a champ, dude. Well played. Well played. But in this matchup, it was a little different. We had an extremely long match. He started keeping his distance. He's backing off a little bit, which tells me I might have his respect. Someone of my caliber, it's still going to be hard to take out the top duelers in the world. But the fact that I frustrated the longtime reigning defending champion with this build gave me a bit of hope to its credibility. Oh, shit, yeah, baby. Oh, we back in this. Oh, he's so pissed. He's so pissed. But anyways, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours down in the comments. Or you can come outside to the blood more. I'll be waiting.